What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Dan. This is my buddy and co-host, Chris. Yes, and we are the Random Media Guys. And look, we're filming in the daylight, with our natural light, and it's outside because
it's beautiful today in Southern California.
It's hot. Yeah, it's been dry as fuck.
It's been a dry, hot winter, but it's nice right now.
Yes, but
we know the rest of the country's freezing.
Yeah, they're like, oh man, it's so cold. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the reason why you come to see us. You come to see us because we talk about movies, books, and other kind of media. And there's a little dog on my leg right now. Go away, little dude. So, how have you been?
Pretty good, Dan. How you been?
Life's been life. But let's get into our normal routine. We're going to talk about some movies we saw recently. We can come here to see...
Hopefully a good one, right?
Yeah, and for my little review here, we're also going to be adding some new stuff here. Chris, because he often travels to a lot of places, he's going to do a little segment, a field trip segment. We thought, we were talking...
I traveled to a lot of kind of random, smaller museums, large museums around Southern California, obscure museums.
Yeah.
A lot of them are interesting. I'd like to share them with you guys.
Yeah, we normally do this on Random History, guys, but we figured this actually makes a little bit more. This because some of the stuff is not even. It's a media. It's a experience.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's a whole experience, and then there obviously there in any museum there is a history to some extent.
Yeah, of course.
So you'll definitely be getting a view of history. From what I saw, and obviously, the experience in the venue.
Yeah, because California, believe it or not, has a lot of interesting museums. Besides, the obvious, like the Natural History Museum or the Museum of Tolerance, or all that stuff.
I've been to that one. Yeah,
that's an interesting
natural history. Been to the Natural History Museum, I think, in every major city around here.
Yeah,
there's one in San Luis Obispo. There's one in Santa Barbara, San Diego, Los Angeles.
But that's not why we're going to talk. We're gonna first focus on our movies. Now, I finally got to sit down and see one that, this is one thing.
You were Netflix and chilling?
I was Netflix and chilling. And
the best, right?
Well, yeah, it's always fun. And I got this thing, hey, you should check this out. It was the new Godzilla movie. Now, this isn't we're not talking about the live action one, the Shin Godzilla, or the one with,
We're not talking about that really crappy one back in the 90s with Matthew Broderick.
Oh, God, that was so bad.
Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, we all remember that one.
I remember when that movie first came out, I really looked forward to seeing it. Okay, this isn't fair. I think it was an okay movie.
They should not...
It was an okay movie.
They shouldn't have labeled it Godzilla.
Yeah, because they totally reformed Godzilla and everything, and Godzilla's obstacles and.
Well, the funniest joke I heard was once they claimed Godzilla was a lizard in the old one and looks like a dinosaur, and they claim it's a dinosaur in that one.
Was that the one in the 90s? I forget. I have to watch.
They claim it's a dinosaur, but it looks more like a lizard.
Oh God!
It's a giant.
90s and dinosaurs is redundant, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know I recently was researching? Jurassic Park may have sorta. I don't know what ripped off what, but 1993 when Jurassic Park first kind of came out, and that was like the big dinosaur film.
Right.
There was a movie before it called Carnosaur, which is basically Jurassic Park, rated R, with blood and guts.
Well, that sounds fun.
Like Jurassic Park, but I know Carnosaur came out like 6 months before Jurassic Park. Who took whose? I mean, because there's a lot of redundant films.
Well, Michael Crichton actually had already written Jurassic Park.
Oh, right. Well, right. The book in the movie was different than the book in many ways.
Yeah, and in fact, we're gonna review the new Jurassic World when it comes out. So that's another thing to keep your eye.
Right.
But
I noticed like Jurassic Park was really toned down to I don't know if anyone wants to see Carnosaur, really see it with the with caution. It's really kind of like gross.
Yeah. But back to Godzilla.
Damn,
we're getting we always go off track.
We do, man.
Like a train with pennies on it.
No, you just said Godzilla, and I'm thinking 90s dinosaurs.
Yeah, but Godzilla, the new
Godzilla's not a dinosaur.
Godzilla is called Godzilla Planet of the Monsters. That's at least the Japanese title. I think that's what they're going to call
What did you think of the the most recent Godzilla movie?
Which one, Shin Godzilla or the one with
Shin Godzilla?
That's the newest Japanese one they did. That one was
Japanese one. Okay, no, the American one.
The one with Kick-Ass in it.
Yes.
And what's her name? Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
It was okay. It was pretty good.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think they didn't make another one. I don't think
they're working on it on a sequel. It's supposed to like interact with the King Kong.
By the way, I met the guy at Monsterpalooza who was the original Japanese actor who did Godzilla.
Who did
got the outfit back in the 80s and 70s. Am I going too far back? 70s? Was
no, the original Godzilla came out in the 50s.
Okay, I don't think he's that far back. I think he's more the films in the 70s,
right?
When they started getting more organized.
And when they started bringing him to the U.S.
Kinda, yeah, right.
But anyway, so Godzilla Planet of the Monsters is actually an interesting kind of film. I'm not going to ruin it because it's only part one of a larger series. The basic premise is they basically take the concept of Godzilla, giant, kaiju came out of the ocean and started attacking Earth, and aliens showed up and all that stuff. But the key is, it's instead of fighting Godzilla, humanity decides to abandon Earth and basically try to find another world. And when they can't find it, they go, well, fuck, we gotta go back home. What happens is they decide to use a hyperdrive, but it's they're affected by relativistic things. Basically, you get so close, you get past speed of light, you get a time debt. A month may pass for you, but like 3 years passed here. That kind of thing. So it turns out 10,000 years has passed, and they go back to the Earth, and Godzilla, or maybe a descendant of Godzilla, is still reigning. And it's kind of, it's basically humans like, well, fuck, what do we do? And it's quite interesting. I admit, I'm not going to ruin it because there's it's Godzilla. And you want, Godzilla's less of a, explain the plot, more of just experience it.
Right. We like the big, scary monster. There's a sexual fetish for that.
Really?
Yeah, there's guys who get off to big giant women coming down like Godzilla. And it's a huge sexual fetish, a big thing. And how they get the guy and they're like ready to eat him or something.
Oh, we
personally know someone who's into this, but we won't mention their name.
You're talking like Vor.
Is it called Vor?
Vor's like when you get eaten and stuff.
It's like Vor.
Yeah, but we're gonna lose our monetization, man. We're gonna get a community guidelines strike.
No, this is sexual education.
This is education.
Yeah, this is education.
Yes.
For educational purposes only.
For educational purposes. Sometimes that doesn't even work.
Right.
What, you want to talk about religion and it being educational? Demonetize.
What are you not allowed to monetize on? I'm not up to date on what.
Natural disasters.
Okay, natural disasters, terrorism.
What is the other fun one?
Indecent exposure.
And any kind of nudity is like. Well, these you get a community guidelines.
I was gonna talk about some guy who pulled my pants down the parking lot of Ralph's, and then now we can't. Can we monetize on that story?
Well, if it's a story, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, they're gonna probably take away our.
It's an important news story.
It's an important.
A guy tried to pull my pants down at the parking lot of Ralph's. I don't know who the guy was, what he wanted, but he just wanted to pull my pants down.
I also recently saw another movie that's a little bit more easier to talk about, and that was Ip Man.
Ah, yeah. So you were telling me about Ip Man.
Ip Man, which stars Donnie Yen. You see, most people knew about Donnie Yen because of Ip Man. I knew about Donnie Yen because of he was in Shanghai Nights and a bunch of other American films, and then I found out, oh, this guy kicks ass. I'm like,
Shanghai Heights.
Shanghai Nights.
Shanghai. That's with Chris Tucker and.
No. That's Rush Hour, dude.
No.
Shanghai Nights has him and
Owen Wilson. Aha, that's Rush Hour. Yeah. Right. Shit, I just confused a Jackie Chan, a good Jackie Chan movie in the 90s, fucking Rush Hour.
Hey, to be fair, Shanghai Nights is actually pretty good.
It was basically just Rush Hour in the Wild West.
Kind of, yeah, but with Owen Wilson.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yep.
Oh no, my nose is all bent and stuff.
Yeah, his nose is bent, man. Guy probably has a tough time dealing with that.
You'll see his nose looks like a dick.
His nose looks like a dick.
No, but Ip Man kind of
fucks chicks with his nose.
Kind of tells the story of the Ip Man, who basically was the teacher to Bruce Lee. It showed him. It showed his early life. It talked about kind of pre-World War II and dealing with like Japanese occupation of Hong Kong at the time.
Okay, so it takes place in the 40s, 30s.
30s, and early 40s.
Yeah. With the raping of Peking.
Yeah, about that time. But it was very toned down. Again, Ant-Man has like a trilogy, and apparently they actually got the permission from the Ip family to you know.
And what was the art he was worked in that he studied? What was his?
I forget what it was, but it was a type of kung fu, and but he was like.
It wasn't Wing Chun, was it?
It might have been Wing Chun because he taught Lee.
Right, Lee I think originally learned Wing Chun. Could have been Wing Chun.
Yeah, and then he created Jeet Kune Do.
Bruce Lee did that years later.
Yeah, because Jeet Kune Do was basically supposed to be the best, basically incorporating the best styles of martial arts to help him. To point out, and when you deal with certain arts styles, you basically usually give one thing for another. Usually things are more focused on, like, for instance, I think judo is focused on grappling, or
judo's focused on grappling, or taekwondo's focused on kicks.
Yeah, where he basically was Jeet Kune Do. The idea was to basically create a more unified, unarmed combat.
Was it more practical Jeet Kune Do?
Jeet Kune Do talked about his philosophy about it was like being like water, you know, being a little. The idea he talked about being formless, being more flexible about what you do, because if you're
was quoted saying a lot of things about water. You know, if you're more like water, water conforms to anything it falls into.
Yeah, which was a really good idea for like being that basically being a little more unpredictable when dealing with an opponent in combat.
Right. Yeah, those men made a lot of history. They brought quite an art.
Well, yeah, and
well, it was really Lee. Lee so much really kind of brought kung fu into the American schools.
You almost kind of wonder what would have happened if Lee hadn't died when he did. He died of an aneurysm.
Right. Some say it's a conspiracy by the triads, and they're also going to kill his son.
Or there was some sort of.
Well, they killed his son.
Or there was some sort of like curse or something like that.
Yeah, did you ever see the movie about Bruce Lee back in the 90s, Enter the Dragon? Where he's like constantly fighting some ghost in his dreams. He's like constantly in these illusions, kind of like, what was that? What was that video game with that cop that was always having hallucinations?
I don't remember.
But it was like this. The movie was pretty good because it said Bruce Lee constantly had nightmares.
Yeah.
Fighting someone.
Because I remember them like I remember this movie because it showed like him coming up with the idea of kung fu, the TV show, and how he could have been in there, but they wanted a white guy, so they got David Carradine.
I didn't know about that.
Well, according to him,
I know Chuck Norris trained with Bruce Lee.
Yeah, and he kicked his ass. And that was like
he kicked Chuck's ass in the movie in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a fun like cause they were fighting at the Roman Coliseum.
Right. I like the one where he kicked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's ass.
Oh yeah.
He was also he's a cool dude, and he studied martial arts, and it was Game of Death. Yeah. Where he was climbing these different levels in this building.
Well, apparently Game of Death was unfinished when he died, so they basically did cut against
right, something like
so it came out kind of weird.
Interesting.
Unlike his son, who basically had most of his stuff filmed when he died, and they basically did.
No, Brandon Lee did great shit. It was really horrible that Brandon and his dad both died so young. Brandon Lee did something. You've seen Big Trouble in Little Tokyo?
No, it was just it was like Little
Was it just called Little Tokyo? It was with Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, we saw that.
And the guy who played in Mortal Kombat's the bad guy.
Shang Tsung. It was Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung, and he was a mobster.
Well, he always. But if you notice, he always plays the mobster, kind of or bad guy. He's always some dude. I gotta look up that guy's name, but he was like, yes, you will. You know. Also, I had what's
your soul.
It also had a Tatsu from fucking Ninja Turtles in there. The bald dude, the bald.
Yes, that guy who was working with Shredder, recruiting, you know.
And he was always that kind of face. Sorry, we're having dog.
We're having dog visits.
Well, because we're so lovable. For only $2 you can adopt animals like Pepper. In the hearts of the angels.
Oh God, Daniel. You can adopt Daniel. Can you start singing that song? What do people have to do to adopt you?
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, that was kind of the interesting thing about it, man. Basically, again, it was showing, the development of, someone who later go on to influence a completely influential character throughout, the world.
Interesting.
The interesting part is because the way that they were eating all the things were like, you could tell that this was because I believe it was in Hong Kong because that's where Lee was from. Well, he was from here, but he lived in Hong Kong for a while. And the thing was, it's interesting to see what
I think Lee was born. Was he born here and he went back to Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think he was born in San Francisco.
He was born in San Francisco and he went back to Hong Kong. His mother's white.
Yeah, the thing was because
his grandmother's half white.
Yeah, because at the time
Britain had control as a colony.
Which actually was very advantageous for Hong Kong to grow.
Yeah.
Because
when the Communist Chinese took it, they didn't change anything in Hong Kong either. It's still free. It was for a free market when they took it over.
Well, to be fair, the Hong Kong was on. They actually kind of showed that on a rush hour thing where for a long time, even up to like the 90s, Hong Kong was under British influence. They were basically It was basically leased to them.
Leased to the Communist Chinese.
And in fact, no, the British still had it. It was leased from them.
It was leased.
The British had I think jurisdiction when it came to like police enforcement.
Interesting.
Which actually is why like a lot of people from like Hong Kong can speak English fairly well.
Right.
And also, actually the fun thing is I learned that India, like despite the fact that they have like, all the different.
Yeah, India has some huge British influence.
Well,
South Africa, huge British.
Well, the interesting thing is I heard this recently was
America has a lot of British influence too.
Yeah, well, that's true. The interesting thing was that India, the kind of universal, the lingua franca, the common language for them is actually English, because of the English. It also helps you out because there's a lot of there's Punjabi, there's Hindi, and all those languages. It's much easier when you go
British colonialism.
Well, and they say that colonialism had no advantages. I mean, it gave
It had disadvantages, but you need to point out the advantages, which people you can talk to people in those countries that like India, for example, had no Western medicine, and when the British came in, they had access to Western medicine, and they weren't fucking spending their 20s and 30s just dying of horrible infections.
They also helped. India for a long time.
Of course, there's a bunch of disadvantages. No one would ever write that off. I mean, the British Empire was cruel in so many ways, but yeah. Also there's this entire influence from the West that came in there, and one of those was medicine, and that helps people.
The Indians had figured out how to do vaccinations early, long time.
Native Americans.
No.
Indians. They were doing vaccinations,
but
with a live.
Yeah, live.
With a virus, so yeah, inoculation in a way.
Yeah, they came in with inoculation a while ago.
Don't think they had any antibiotics though.
No, but then again, we didn't have that till the early 1900s, and the only reason we figured that out.
We had a lot of understanding of sanitary, of sanitary conditions that a lot of third world countries, to this day.
If you want to think of the good things that happened for India, it would be the kind of the abolishment of the caste system, because even though British
caste system is horrible. Well, the caste system still very much.
Well, it still has an influence.
Yeah.
Though it's not.
It's nearly not as powerful as it once was.
There's still an influence there, even though it's pretty much gone.
Right.
There's still this kind of it's become more classism than casteism.
Right. It's better. It's Diet Coke. You had Coca-Cola, now you have Diet Coke.
Yeah. So let's switch on to your field trips.
My field trips.
Yeah, you talked about.
Yes, recently I went to the Museum of Death, which is located in Hollywood, Los Angeles, in the community of Hollywood.
Yeah, you know,
it's kind of a fun. It's a fun trip. It's very touristy.
Yeah, yeah.
For those of you, obviously, who have been there and who live in the Los Angeles area, you know Hollywood's very touristy. For you who have not been there, it's touristy, and there's a lot of funny characters. Funny characters meaning, you know, there's a homeless guy who's tweaking out on some drugs on the sidewalk. Like on every block. Like on every block. Hollywood's got a lot of riffraff, and you know why?
Yeah.
You know why that is?
Because everyone's kind of become a star.
Right, right. Basically, a lot of people from the Midwest come out this way, and they have these dreams of becoming movie stars, and this has happened for years, the past.
Yeah,
ever since the '60s, really.
Yeah, you work.
And they come out here, and you know, the reality is, it's very rare to be a movie star. It takes incredible amount of talent and hard work.
Well, here's the fun part.
So that narrows down the population of people who are going to be successful in Hollywood. But you had a lot of people from the Midwest who didn't have much going on, so a lot of them became just homeless and drug addicted, and they went into prostitution.
Well, here's another thing
around Hollywood.
That people don't know is that a lot of people don't realize is that rent here is actually quite expensive.
It's extremely expensive because we have a major metropolitan area.
We're not San Francisco. We're not Honolulu. Although we're pretty up there.
Remember, if you go to a major city, the rent is high because there's work. There is employment options. Therefore, you have more money in your pocket. Therefore, owners will see that they can raise.
And coastal cities are especially
right. Exactly. The weather's great out here. It's high demand. But yeah, I went down to Hollywood with my girl, and we took the Red Line, which we've taken before.
Yeah.
Many people take them. So you should park
you have to explain to them what the Red Line is. It's basically
a subway. It's a subway.
It's our subway.
It's our subway system. If you ever come out here, you can park in North Hollywood and take the subway down south.
All
the way south through Universal City into Hollywood and Highland, and you get off Hollywood and Highland, and you walk about 5 blocks east, and this is where the Museum of Death is. It's kind of a walk from that way, so maybe you could Uber down the rest of the way from Hollywood and Highland, but there are weird characters on the way. There's a lot of fun stores on the way too. You can stop by the Hustler store. There's also this place called the Hotel where we can stay in we can go in a room. We should go there, and we have to figure out a puzzle to escape from the room.
Ooh, that's an interesting.
That's fun.
You know, if we do that, we should live stream that.
We should live stream that. There's a lot of fun stuff in Hollywood. There's a ton of museums. There's Ripley's, believe it or not. There's the Wax Museum.
I passed by Ripley's Museum.
There's the Museum of Broken Relationships. Check
really?
That one out. Yes, they have which is like a whole exhibits of people who broke up, famous people, average people, funny breakups. I don't know. A lot of people have liked it. It seems to be popular. It's a popular museum.
Right.
But that's Hollywood for you.
Well, Hollywood's always a fun place.
But I always saw advertised for the Museum of Death, so I walked 8 blocks, about 2 miles east from Hollywood and Highland with my girl. And we finally get to, the museum was going to look small from the outside, but we went in.
It's like a TARDIS. It's big out. It looks small on the outside, big on the inside.
Yeah, and the way they do it. Okay, so we went in, and you cannot film in the museum, and you cannot take any pictures.
Which is why we're not actually just uploading footage.
Right now, the museum, and the reason why they do this is because this is the Museum of Death, and they don't put that lightly. Like, it is an exhibit of death, of murder. They have videos of preparing a corpse for burial.
What's
Autopsies.
the other one? Embalming.
Right. Okay. Another thing to warn you about is it's not politically correct. There is a video in the second room of a woman of what kind of goes on in the Middle East, because it's the Museum of Death, so they have a little overview because they had the execution room of people,
infidels,
of the history of execution, and they have a piece of footage of what they'll do to a woman, under Sharia law in Somalia. she's chased out by a mob, and her clothes are torn off, and the rest of it's really grisly. But it's a whole room of executions. They have a T-shirt preserved of an individual who was electrocuted, and a lot of his material, his
fluids.
His actually, I saw his clothing, right? They had his jeans and his shirt, and you see this big stain on the shirt, and you're like, oh, is that blood? No, that's pieces of the skin that comes off during electrocution onto the shirt.
Oh,
electrocution will just melt your skin right off.
Yeah, that's why they actually have to make sure, like, for instance, like they showed this in what's it called, Green Mile, where they showed basically that you have to like, use a sponge. You have to, basically you have to make sure the scalp is wet when you do electrocution, because it'll otherwise you'll cook.
Yeah, execution is heinous. It is brutal. It is disgusting. Yeah, death by the electric chair is heinous. We do not have it anymore.
We have lethal injection.
We have lethal injection. You could get a firing squad in Utah. Firing squad is when you have that's a Mormon execution. They do have that every so often.
Well, to be fair, if you are, I'm not necessarily pro death penalty, or my idea is that we should.
The opinion of the death penalty is such an old thing. Some people are like, the death penalty is definitely just, that can go. That's probably a conversation for another time.
I just talked about they're working on drugs to help out people with things like empathy and all that stuff. So if they ever could figure out a way to basically...
That sounds a little Clockwork Oranges.
No. So let's say you get a drug and you basically get injected someone. So it's basically like say someone who like, I don't give a fuck, I killed someone. They almost force them to like experience from like guilt. That would be a more interesting.
Yeah, I think really what people would say is though they want a punishment still for what you did to deter the action.
But to be fair, if you're forced to experience like
the guilt, that in itself, that's sort of though very sci-fi-ish. I know that technology. I mean, to something to reform your mind, to completely build up your mind, what was absent there. I mean, that is a massive psychological.
That's also what therapy is for.
Right.
But you do it in conjunction. It wouldn't be like...
The only person I'd say everyone enjoyed seeing electrocuted was Ted Bundy back in 1989. He was a pretty brutal, disgusting killer, and if you don't think that look him up, believe me, it's pretty grisly. He killed something like about 80 women. He would kill lots of women, then he would rape their dead bodies. He was into that crap.
He
escaped from jail twice, and the times he escaped, he got out and killed people. He killed a little girl in the field somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
He goes into a sorority home, like something out of a Jason Friday the 13th movie, and he takes a hammer to these chicks' heads while they're sleeping.
Oh fuck!
So when he was caught in 1989, they because guess what with Ted Bundy, how fucked he was. He started saying, because he was psychotic and he was always looking for a way to get off. He was trying to appeal to evangelical Christians in '89, and he had James Dobson, Mr. Fuck the homosexuals, but Ted Bundy should be saved because Ted Bundy claims he's repented for slaughtering and hammering people's heads.
Oh, that's why.
No, look at this. Ted Bundy said porno made him do it. I find that to be a fucking lie, and everyone did too.
Yeah.
No, Ted, you're psychotic. You're sick. You're trying to appeal to evangelicals to try to hope for some Hail Mary pass to get off through a pardon through the governor. Get fucking real.
Yeah.
When he was electric, everyone was like, yay, and partying outside. It was kind of funny.
That's kind of like what happened with Manson when he died.
When he died, everyone didn't care. And Manson's so far gone.
No, the question was, he's
so full of shit.
Actually, the funny thing was, like, Manson said, wait, he's dead? He was alive?
Yeah, no one ever knew. He lived. Yeah, he was in the museum too. He's about in the 4th room. They start getting into Manson cult and the Manson murder is something else to look up.
We should actually do a whole thing on that because we know where the Axe original place was. We actually live nearby.
We do live nearby, yeah. Spawn Ranch is up in the Chatsworth Mountains, and we can go there and absolutely document if you're interested where the Manson family, plotted their insanity.
We'll do that on a random. We'll do it on the history history guys, because that's more of a history lesson.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so in the Museum of Death, there's a room where it's all medical, more talking. They have a footage of how they prepare a corpse for burial.
They did with Mengele?
They've got to sew with Mengele, the Nazis. That was in the genocide area. To get to that, they had this other thing, and I thought of you when I read it, I saw it.
Why?
Because something came out had to do with SJW-ish isms.
Yeah.
Though I don't know. Thinking about it again, I don't know. Okay, they in one part you go through this hallway and there's these really grisly photos of these two psychotic. This woman had her ex-husband murdered or something by her psycho white trash boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so he snuck into the ex-husband's home and shot him in the back of the head, so he's dead. And then the woman and the guy proceeded to mutilate his corpse and photographed it. This was in 1982.
Oh, this is back when it was just
Yeah, but what was weird is they removed his hand and made it a middle finger and stuck it into the head and cut the head off, and they're smiling and there's no head on the torso. It was pretty grisly. The guy who committed the murder got 55 years. The woman got off only with mutilating a corpse 10 years.
That's
Somehow
bullshit.
I thought of you, yeah. Well, here's what I thought of it. I think it's because her lawyers the prosecution never proved she actually killed. Though it's quite clear she conspired, because why else would you be celebrating with your psycho boyfriend while you're mutilating the guy? It's doesn't that show you knew about? That's conspiracy. Yeah. But I somehow thought of you because you said the justice system's unequal with men and women. I was like, well, shit, Daniel's maybe right. She may have done some she first made up a story and said she was against her will. Then they found these disgusting photographs, and the prosecutor said, "No, you're not. You're smiling with your ex-husband's fucking cut-off head."
His mutilated corpse.
His mutilated corpse. And I that's right. I don't know what happened, but maybe you're right. Maybe that's evidence right there of what you're talking about. That inequality in the justice system.
It should have
been conspiracy.
Yeah, here. Though she didn't actually commit the murder, so that wouldn't be as bad. I think she'd have gotten at least 25.
No, because if you knew about it, and she clearly knew about it, how else could you not even prove that?
Yeah,
she knew about it because else you wouldn't be as happy when your ex-husband's killed and then there's sawing dead bodies apart.
Yeah, so that should have been is mutilate a corpse and conspiracy to commit murder,
right? Which is all could be life. I mean, the fact that the guy's 55. Remember, this is 82.
Yeah, so she got out. She got out in 92.
It's 82, man. It shows how far back the bullshit of the system. And
yeah, well,
I didn't. So that was one part. You'll see that they had a whole thing on Heaven's Gate.
Oh yeah,
a whole bunch of suicide religious cults. I'll kill myself and go to heaven.
Those are fun.
Jim Jones. Yeah, those happen a few. There's Heaven's Gate, then there's the Jonestown. You know about all.
Was that when you said that who's the greatest boxer ever? Jim Jones knocked out. Was it
with Kool-Aid? He knocked out something that was a very mean meme.
Yeah, well, it's spicy as fuck.
He convinced a bunch of people just to start drinking Kool-Aid.
And if you didn't drink it, he'd force it down your throat.
Pretty much. He had guys with guns, and there was a senator that actually went down there to kind of get people out in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they gunned all of them down too. And then he did this mass suicide as a last
ditch effort. So
there's that. There's a bunch of exhibits there. Then they get into famous actors who died, like James Dean. He died street racing. Marilyn Monroe overdosed on drugs. They had John F. Kennedy's picture of his brains blown out.
Oh yeah. I mean, they went into a horrible joke. My favorite sex position is John F. Kennedy. I blow up all.
No, it was really horrible.
I know. I know.
It's just disgusting.
They got his head basically. It was hollow points, right? They got hit with.
Oh, you can't say that. It's for the investigation. He was hit by One FMJ, because the first one goes through the neck and into the governor, who was sitting in the passenger.
Oh, yeah, he got hit too.
That final one in the head, which makes the whole case very fuzzy, because there's no way, because Oswald shooting a Carcano, that was only chambered for, was only the ammunition for the 6.5 Carcano is FMJ. They weren't making hollow points.
Yeah.
In 6.5.
Right.
How the hell was he hit?
I've heard that.
Just a second.
I've heard an interesting concept, and this is a little bit moving to conspiracy territory.
Sure, go for it.
But
it's a million.
My sister knows a guy who basically used to work with the FBI, or sorry, it was the CIA. Basically, he used to be working with Castro, and he basically was a spy in Cuba.
He worked for Castro, or was he a spy against Castro, or a double agent?
An agent, he was a Castro, Richard Castro turned agent for us. Basically, he got turned because he was kind of disgusted with what was going on under the Castro. According to him, Oswald was actually not the shooter, but instead was actually captured by KGB, and the KGB were actually the ones who assassinated Kennedy. It was two shooters who had been CIA turned by KGB. Yeah,
they controlled Trump.
And in fact, that's
how they shot our other president.
And the reason why Oswald was killed during his trial is because he could have basically.
The damn Russians shot the president we all like, and then they put presidents in that are total fucking douchebags.
Yeah, the whole idea was that basically Oswald would have been able to basically prove that no, it wasn't him, and in fact it was.
One other theory I had with Kennedy's assassination, Secret Service M16 went off because a round was in the chamber, the safety was off.
Did they even have M16?
Yes. And a round is in the chamber, the safety was off, and they're untrained, and because there was shots going off, accidental discharge goes into Kennedy's head. That's one theory they have that not a lot of people have explored because it's not juicy enough. It's like, oh wow, his guard shot him
by accident.
Right. But I watched a really good piece on that, and it was like, that
could work.
And I could see the country would kind of just hush that, because it's like, it's embarrassing to say the president was shot by the Secret Service. Really, it all came down to that? Like, he could have lived?
Yeah, and to be fair, didn't he get shot by the first round?
That would explain the first round being consistent with the trajectory coming from where Oswald was.
Yeah.
And then that final round of the head being the hollow point, being from an N16, because that was loaded in hollow points, because hollow points are excellent self-defense ammunition.
Right.
Because they expand.
Well, ABC, actually, there was a cool one. Someone basically took a hollow point and basically put in a potassium sodium alloy, and when that shit hits soft targets.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh yeah, dude, you can get some serious ammo, like total.
And now we're gonna get pulled down for talking about guns. How dare?
Well, okay.
Well, to be fair, actually,
the museum is really fun. There's also they managed to acquire a bunch of letters by famous serial killers. So if you're doing a crime report or a psychology report, this is an excellent place.
Great resource.
A great resource to be in there if you really want to get really references from killers, from John Wayne Gacy in prison, from Ted Bundy, from Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Dude, they were freaking nuts.
Yes, they're sick people. But they have their writing and they have their artwork. They wrote down a lot of creepy artwork.
Utah.
So the museum is a definite resource for that. There's also like a really cool sort of wax figure they have of G.G. Allen. If you don't know who G.G. Allen was, do you know who G.G. Allen was?
No, I don't.
He was this dude in the 80s who would mutilate himself doing metal.
Metal?
Yes, he was like a
metal?
fucking musician, and his goal was to one day kill himself, ending one of his performances. But he ended up actually just dying of drug overdose, so fuck. But he did mutilate himself and would often get naked on stage and like have shit rubbed in his face and would like have fans beat him up and would beat fans up. He was a really trippy dude. He was obsessed with death and destruction and shit.
Damn. Anything else?
Yeah, that's the museum. Lots of artwork, lots of creepy photographs on execution, genocide, cult suicide, cult killings, Hollywood, the murder and death of the rich and famous. Yeah, that's the museum. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, dude.
Great resource.
Dude, I just realized there's a bunch of filters on this live stream, so I'm literally just shifting through the lot. Dude, so now I turned you into black and white, man.
You turned me into black and white.
That's racist, man.
No, we're the 1950s now.
Or I could bring it into a documentary. Oh, dude, I looks like you're in a 1970s documentary. You're like.
Let me see the 70s documentary one.
You look. Is it that kind of, you know? We're still live. We're fucking with the camera.
Let me see.
See, beam, dawn, glamour, dream, bubbles.
That's to the 70s documentary.
Hey, go back, dude. Come on. I want to hear more about this museum. Go ahead. This actually fits with you.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the museum. They've got really some funny, creepy T-shirts you can buy of like serial killer quotes and shit. If you're someone into collecting like really weird shit, you know, you're goth. This is your kind of place.
I think you know what you should do.
The place is not too busy, not too crowded. It's kind of on a weird block down there in Hollywood, along Hollywood Boulevard. So don't talk too much to the people around there. They might be trouble. Some of them might be cool. Who knows?
I like this. I like this. The setting looks more natural for us.
Yes.
Yes. And then there's dogs.
They're not even our dogs. We just like took them.
Yeah, I took them. They're not our dogs. Anyway, I'm gonna come back in frame, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. I just wanted.
Fucking around.
Yes. Well, I'm on my phone. I want everybody to see. It looks so nice, doesn't it? To be fair, I'm the straight man, and you're the funny man.
There you go.
Depending on the circumstances.
The straight man, the funny man. Queer eye for the straight guy.
Funny eye for the straight guy.
Exactly.
You know they're actually bringing that back on Netflix.
I didn't know. I don't keep up with that.
I just heard about it because I was listening to stuff on Ideas I Do.
You listen to a lot of shit.
I do. It's because I get bored. It's mainly been books lately.
And I won't sound cool.
And by the way, I think I'm going to kind of close out this thing with a book report. I normally like to talk about books.
Let's do it.
But I want to talk about a book series I've been reading. It's called it's what I like to call one of those like.
Who's the author?
Well, let me explain a little bit. The author is kind of one of those people who come out of nowhere, who are like, holy shit, this guy's got great, you know, stuff. Brand new author. So what I'm going to talk about is a book series called The Expeditionary Force by Craig Allenson. Now, I'm going to be talking about the first book, which is called Columbus Day. Now, let me give you a little backstory. This story is a military sci-fi, but not like an Alien or Starship Troopers. No. This is much more fun. Let me give you a description. Imagine, if you will, we're just chilling out here, and suddenly aliens come and attack our planet. But here's the key: they don't attack. They don't come to invade or enslave us. They go and blow up our power infrastructure and our manufacturing. And another alien race pops up afterward and says, "Hey, these guys are our sworn enemies. Let's come with us and fight with us. You know because they're our sworn." But it turns out that our new allies are actually kind of assholes, and in fact, not the allies we want. And it turns out the aliens attacking us were actually doing us a favor by preventing us from being an interesting manufacturing area for our new friends. And we're all saved. and that the key to our planet being liberated from our new allies is a alien beer can. Interesting already?
I like it.
All right,
sounds cool.
So let me explain a little bit the story. The story of the film happens that way. The story follows, at least starts out following a main character by the name of Joe Bishop. Now I'll say I listened to this on the audiobook, and the great part of the audiobook is the narrator is the same narrator who did it for The Martian. He did the audiobook for The Martian. You know, the one where they need to get Matt Damon back from Mars.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, so he's chilling out. He's in the army. He's only in the army really like for like a lot of people who go army who are not going it for a career. Like listen, they understand that they get benefits for being a veteran, mainly like the GI Bill. He's chilling out in Maine when Earth is attacked by a race of creatures called the Ruhar. Now imagine giant friggin' hamsters, anthropomorphic hamsters, alien hamsters.
Giant fucking alien hamsters.
Not giant like this, but they're like humanoid hamsters. So, during this thing, he captures a soldier, what's apparently is like impressed is their new allies called the Kristang, like lizard people. And we find out is that the Kristang and the Ruhar have been are bitter enemies. But we learn once the UN basically puts together an expeditionary force to go with a Kristang battle group to basically be allies, quote unquote, more like their clients and patrons. Now, what happens? We find out is the Ruhar and the Kristang are part of almost like a pyramid scheme level of enemy coalitions. You see the Ruhar are part of one coalition. The Kristang are part of the Ruhar are under another species called the giraffe that are basically think like the roaches from Men in Black, not the giant roaches, but the guys who are like chilling out and drinking coffee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what they describe them as beetles who basically lost their shell. All I can think was those guys because they're funny because you meet the species later on and they like to bet on everything. They're like They're like Vegas's wet dream. They even bet on whether or not they will break.
Guys that like to bet.
They'll break treaties, or whether.
Sound like the Ferengi.
They're kind of like the Ferengi. In fact, they even have on their ship. They have basically a designated officer who basically takes bets and sub bets.
That's pretty awesome.
They even bet on whether they'll win a battle.
That's funny.
Yeah, so
there's kind of a hustler culture.
Yeah, they're kind of fun. They also like to prank. They refer to as lesser species.
Funny.
And above them is a group called the Rinaloo. Think like spider people. On the other side, you have the Kristang. Their patrons are a group called the Thoranin. Think Roswell aliens, cyborg Roswell aliens. And above them are a senior species called the Max Salts. Now, the reason why this coalition is going on is because millions of years ago, the Rinaloo and the Max Salts found technology from a more ancient race called the Elders, and decided to have themselves a war. Well, that wasn't so good, and one of the guardians of the Elders who basically came in and whipped their asses, so they've now been going on a long-term proxy war.
Interesting.
So basically, the Earth has become the next as below the Kristang, and they're. Now, you know how sometimes when you have long-term wars, things become fairly, like, routine. Like, oh, you lost, so off this area.
Right.
So humanity's basically been sent out with the Kristang to basically clear off a planet of Ruhar, basically. To not kill them, basically, but kind of say, all right, get out. Time to escort you out.
Interesting.
But like Bishop begins to figure out...
District 9-ish now.
Yeah, kind of like that. But they begin to find out that... the Kristang art is all nice and, buddy. For one thing, they're chauvinistic. They're legitimately misogynistic, like, assholes. Like, at one point in the story, they're told to basically kill some Ruhar civilians because of a roadside bombing, and he refuses, and the women who also refuse are basically tortured and then
Who are Ruhar again?
The hamster people.
This sounds like a political book, kind of like
it's kind of
book
fun.
they made with about World War II with Jews.
Yeah, but it's kind of fun. Here's what. So
it's like Animal Farm.
Yeah. So basically, not quite. So basically, after this whole battle, eventually the Ruhar take back the planet, and you find out that Joe's kind of famous because he captured a soldier. He actually even got promoted. He was a sergeant, but he got booted up to a colonel for some reason. Read the book for it. And their head governor says, "Listen, we don't actually hate you guys." She basically says, "This is why we attacked you. We were actually trying to make sure the Kristang wouldn't take over your planet because the elders had basically, damn it, a wormhole network that allowed, made it easier to travel amongst the stars. The problem is a new area opened up near Earth because Earth used to be under hard territory. Now it's Kristang."
Interesting.
But she basically says, "Listen, your people got screwed basically," and says, so he's kind of chilling around. He's not quite a prisoner of war, essentially an involuntary guest when he stumbles upon an ancient, looks like a beer can, and he calls him Skippy, and he says, "Listen, buddy, I can help you get your planet back, but you're basically you can't let any of the other advanced races know I'm here. I'll shut down, and it's gonna be and they kind of go off on their merry way, getting a new crew together, and basically jacking not only a Kristang, but one of their patrons' ships. And basically, the best part of the book, honestly, it's fucking hilarious. Like, it's the dialogue that really sells. It's
right.
It's like, the Skippy, the AI, that's what Joe calls him. Basically, he's like, he's so full of himself. He's like, I know all this stuff. And Joe's like, why don't we just try this? And I was like, why didn't I think of that? He's like, well, and Skippy calls all the humans basically monkeys. Like, oh, you
thought the plot climaxed, everything went well in the storyline.
But yeah, they get back to Earth, they kind of liberate, but it turns out that they need to go back out. I like the ship name. They call it the Flying Dutchman.
Flying Dutchman.
So, the story is currently on its 5th book because even though and it's not like they go do this over and over again. It's like you begin learning more about you meet, for instance, the giraffe in the 3rd book, and they actually really make a bet about how a battle will go, and they kind of even talk shit like, oh, this commander made this bet. Oh wow, looks like I'm making this much money now. It's very much like if you'll read it and you'll just start laughing because of some of the straight out of. It's like if Douglas Adams decided to write a military science fiction. The guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Interesting.
So yeah, check that out. It's
definitely.
Yeah, it's a fun book. I can't see me explaining it kind of just breaks it down, and it's not as fun when you hear me say it.
Where can the viewers find this book?
You get on
How much?
Amazon for about like $5, and the audiobook's like it's like $30. But keep in mind, you if you're doing
Audible.
Yeah, Audible. I'm listening to Audible, but I have credits I get every like month. This is not an ad for Amazon or Audible. It's just saying where you get it.
Right.
The audiobook is freaking awesome. I love the audiobook.
Yeah, you can listen to it in your car.
And the voice acting is stellar. So check out that one. That is one you really should check out.
Check it out, guys.
So you got anything else? Any other closing thoughts?
We'll come back with more stuff soon.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get more history going.
Yes.
More documentary work. We'll go to Spawn Ranch.
And we're sorry about all the noise because my neighbor decided to make their cars really fucking loud.
Cars are usually fucking loud, man.
Yeah, but my car's pretty quiet. That's because I drive a Honda.
That's what you think.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you drive the Japanese car.
Yeah, I drive the Japanese car.
Very quiet.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
And check us out. We're gonna try to shoot for a more regular schedule.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to be shooting for either Wednesdays or Thursdays. I really can't do Sundays because of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, check us out later on, and we'll see you guys later.
We will see you later.
And I will end my cat. So, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys later.
I saw a dude today who was just growing one piece of hair out. He was this Chinese dude.